Welcome back, learners, to another deep dive, your weekly shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're tackling the really complex world of commercial communication.
Mm,
Whether you're presenting important data, trying to close a deal, or maybe just sending a quick email, your words, and even the things you don't say, your body language,
mm.
can all really affect your success.
Oh, absolutely. In today's world, everything's so interconnected, right? So mastering commercial communication isn't just about speaking perfect English. It's really about understanding those unspoken rules, the subtle stuff, and especially how culture plays into it all. That can make or break things.
Exactly. So what's our mission today? We've dug into commercial English for commercial skills. It's a really rich set of sources. And we're going to pull out the most important bits for you, show you how to speak precisely, present effectively, write emails that actually get results, all while navigating these fascinating cultural differences. Hopefully you'll get some real aha moments out of this. Okay, so to really get a handle on commercial communication, let's start right at the foundation. Precision. Specifically, when you're explaining figures, numbers, it sounds simple maybe, but the language you use, it makes a huge difference for understanding, for trust. What did the sources highlight here? Any pitfalls or maybe tools we can use?
Well, it's actually quite striking when you look at it. The power of using very specific verbs, adjectives, adverbs, it helps paint a really clear picture with the data. So instead of just saying, things changed, the material suggests using stronger verbs. Sales might have plummeted, or maybe they climbed, or perhaps they just remained stable.
Uh,
And then adjectives like dramatic or slight to show how much change. And adverbs like rapidly or gradually to show the speed. It gives your audience a much clearer mental image.
I like that. Turning numbers into a story almost.
Yeah.
So how does that connect to actually saying the numbers,
Mm.
especially when you're talking to people from different places, different cultures?
That's a really critical point for clarity across borders. How we actually say the numbers. For example, the sources mention international standards, like using a space instead of a comma for large numbers. Or being really specific with currency like $153.55, not just 153.55.
Right, the details matter.
Exactly. And decimal saying point, and then each number individually, like 7.15, not 7.15.
Yeah.
Even fractions have specific ways they should be said, with common ones like 1/4 or 1/2 being exceptions you just need to know.
So what's the takeaway for listeners here? How can they use this day to day?
Well, it's more than just avoiding mistakes. Being precise with numbers, especially when it's about money or really important data, it builds trust. Foundational trust. Just think about the misunderstandings or even the legal issues if a decimal point gets missed or a currency is wrong across borders. Clarity isn't just nice to have, it's crucial. It shows you're careful and you respect your audience.
Okay, so we've tightened up our language around numbers. Now let's talk about presentations. That's where so much commercial communication really happens, right? High stakes. What do the sources say makes a presentation truly great? Are there universal principles?
The absolute core principle, and it comes up again and again in the material, is simplicity. Keep it simple. It's not really about everything you want to say. It's about what the audience hears, feels, and remembers. That's the key phrase.
That makes sense.
So focus on maybe just 3 key points. State them early, repeat them, end with them. And powerful headlines. You need to grab their attention fast, like in under 10 seconds. Make that first impression count.
Okay, simplicity, focus, strong start. But then there's the whole other set, the nonverbal stuff, body language. Our sources really get into this. What stands out there?
Oh, yeah, it's fascinating. The material talks about things like the Clinton box, keeping your hands sort of naturally in front of you, not too wild, or holding the ball, a similar idea for controlled gestures.
Okay.
Then there's pyramid hands, fingertips lightly touching. It signals confidence, being composed. And think about palms up versus palms down. Palms up suggests honesty, openness. Palms down can come across as more assertive, more authoritative.
Huh, interesting distinction.
Yeah, and a general rule is the bigger the audience, the bigger your gestures need to be just so people can actually see them. Also varying your tone, your pace that keeps people engaged. And of course, remembering to smile. That connects with pretty much anyone, anywhere.
It really sounds like presenting is a full-body activity, not just talking. But, as you said earlier, all this can shift dramatically when culture comes into play. Which brings us to maybe the most complex part, cross-cultural communication. Our sources use Aaron Meyer's culture map quite a bit. It offers really valuable insights into why communication styles differ so much. Let's start with that big one. Low context versus high context communication. Can you break that down?
Yeah, this is absolutely fundamental. In low context cultures, think the US, Australia, Germany communication tends to be very direct, precise, explicit. What you say is what you mean. Clarity is king. Messages often get written down, recapped.
Okay, very clear.
But in high context cultures common in places like the Middle East, India, Japan, a lot of the meaning is implied. It's not all in the words. It relies heavily on shared understanding, history, nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, the relationship itself. You really have to read between the lines. Assumptions are made.
Wow, that's a huge difference. So how does this play out in a practical situation, like giving feedback, constructive criticism?
That's where things can get really tricky fast. In those direct, low context cultures like Israel, Russia, Germany, perhaps negative feedback is often given very openly, specifically, sometimes even in front of others. It's about efficiency, getting the point across clearly.
Right.
But in indirect, high context cultures, say India, China, Japan, feedback is handled much more diplomatically. Softer language, often in private, one-on-one, always. Giving direct, blunt feedback publicly to someone from an indirect culture, that could be deeply embarrassing, seen as a major loss of face. It could totally destroy the working relationship.
That's a critical distinction. And the sources also use this great analogy, the peach and coconut idea.
Yeah.
How does that help us understand these styles?
Yeah, it's a really useful way to think about building relationships across cultures. So peach cultures like the US, Canada, Brazil, maybe they seem friendly and approachable right away, easy to chat with, make small talk, share surface level stuff, lots of smiles. But getting to a deep, trusting friendship, that takes a lot longer. It's like getting through the soft flesh to the hard pit inside the peach.
Okay, soft outside, hard inside. So what are coconut cultures then?
Think Germany, Switzerland, maybe China. They tend to be more reserved, more formal initially, especially with people they don't know. The outer shell is tough to crack. They might not jump into small talk or share personal things quickly, but once you do break through that shell, the connection is often very deep, very loyal, very lasting, like family.
Hard outside, soft inside.
Yeah.
So what's the practical advice here for our listeners trying to connect internationally?
Well, the main thing is to first understand your own style, where you naturally fall, and then adapt. If you're dealing with peaches, enjoy that initial warmth, but don't mistake it for instant, deep friendship. Be polite, engage in the small talk, but know that trust builds over time. With coconuts, you need patience. Slow down. Don't push for personal information too early. Let them set the pace. Building that trust might take longer, but it can be very strong once it's there. It's all about respecting those differences.
Okay, let's bring all this great insight back to something really practical. Email. It's probably the tool we use most for commercial communication. The sources give us a pretty clear structure, a checklist. What are the absolute must-dos for an effective email, especially thinking about that cross-cultural piece?
Keep it simple. Keep it clear. Make sure it has a purpose. That's the core. The material suggests maybe sticking to 3 main points max. Use short sentences like under 20 words if you can. Good structure helps too. Clear paragraphs, spacing, maybe headings, makes it easier to read.
Right, readability is key.
Absolutely. And the purpose needs to be obvious right from the start. What do you want the reader to do? Link it to a clear call to action. Oh, and there's this great little check. Think how you would feel if it went public. That's a really good way to pause and make sure your tone is right, your message is safe.
That's a great filter. Now, speaking of clarity and tone, the sources have this whole section called Take Care Words to actually avoid because they can weaken your message. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, this section is really illuminating. It points out dramatic words, things like absolutely, totally, very. They're meant to add emphasis, but often they just add, well, drama, and maybe make you sound less credible.
Okay. Less is more sometimes.
Exactly. Then there are protector words like just or basically. If you say, I am just following up, you immediately make your email sound less important. You're kind of downgrading your own message.
Well, that's subtle but makes sense.
Uh,
What other word traps should we watch out for?
Well, defensive words like arguably or even I think sometimes, they can signal a lack of confidence, like you're not fully sure of your position. Saying I will try is another big one. It shows you're not fully committed. That can create anxiety for the other person. Are they going to do it or not?
Right. Leaves things uncertain.
Precisely. And finally, avoid words that can sound condescending, like actually or obviously. They can imply the other person is maybe a bit slow or doesn't understand. It just creates friction. Each of these, often unintentionally, can chip away at clear communication and good relationship.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. It really shows that effective commercial communication is, well, it's multifaceted, isn't it? It's this blend of using language carefully and having that sharp awareness of cultural differences. From explaining numbers clearly to presenting with impact to writing good emails, even just choosing our words carefully. Every single interaction is a chance to build trust or, unfortunately, to break it.
Absolutely. And understanding frameworks like Myers Culture Map, or even simple analogies like the peach and coconut, it really equips you. It helps you anticipate how others might communicate differently and lets you adapt your own style. That leads to better results, stronger working relationships across the globe, and just a smoother professional life, really.
So as you, our listener, think about all this, consider your next big presentation or that negotiation coming up, or maybe just the next email you have to write. How might understanding these ideas, low context, high context, peach, coconut, those take care words, how might that change how you approach it? Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.